Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys doing well, and it's good to see you back. And we're gonna be talking about another topic relating to gang stalking. There's of course a lot of things to cover. I have tried to cover as much of it as I can. So far in this channel, I've talked about a multitude of things. I've talked about what I think gang stalking is, who's doing it, and why it's being done. I have proposed some solutions like the formation of an off-grid TI community to basically create an environment where there would be virtually no harassment. I've talked about the psychological aspect. I've talked about the motivation we need as targets. I've talked about psychological control. I've talked about a lot of things, but in this video, I want to delve a little bit more into the topic of implants and chips. This is, of course, one of the topics that has been brought up quite a few times. Whenever people talk about gang stalking, there's a lot of people that talk about implants and chips. Basically, it's fine and dandy that people are being, excuse me, people are being electronically harassed, whether you're dealing with V2K or DEW or whatever other forms of electronic harassment. We know that the gang stalkers have in their possession some very high-powered and advanced technology, such as satellites, which they can use to virtually do anything to you, basically. And these technologies can penetrate into houses, they can penetrate through walls, windows, cars, what have you. They are able to spy on you, they can see and hear what you're doing, they can track you in different locations, they can do things to your brain, they can zap your brain. A lot of people complain about hearing like humming noises in their heads when they try to go to sleep. I actually deal with this personally. Some people suggested that they can also mind control you, and basically and of course the V2K. Some people complain that the gang stalkers are able to use these high-power technologies to basically beam voices into your head and communicate with you through that and harass you. Yeah, so we know about all this, but of course there is a problem of the chip, of the implants. Some people believe that they are chipped, that at some point gang stalkers might have gotten access to them, maybe in their sleep, and were able to implant them with a chip. A lot of people suggest that these chips or implants are probably somewhere in your body, probably somewhere in your skull. That would make a lot of sense. And of course, the problem with chips is that if you have a chip, if you have an implant, it wouldn't matter if you create a Faraday cage or if you haul yourself up in some kind of basement and cover the basement all with like aluminum foil, because of course we know aluminum foil can block certain types of, radio waves like microwave and that kind of stuff that is being used a lot of times. Obviously, it would having a chip or an implant would, in most cases, defy even the point of having a Faraday cage or using aluminum to block any to jam any signals or waves or whatever. Because if you have an implant, you're taking that implant with you to the safe place, so you would still get a lot of the negative effects associated with that. I cannot comment as to who has chips and how many people are chipped and whether we are actually chipped or not. I don't know. I have no clue. The problem with implants and chips, of course, is that it creates a very severe hurdle for targeted individuals. And of course, it shows basically that the gang stalkers have an sort of like an advantage or upper hand over us, because I'll explain to you why. Because the problem with chips is that it's even if you suspect that you have a chip and you want to get confirmation, whether for yourself or for other people or whatever have you, you're still going to be met with a lot of problems. The obvious problem is if you do indeed suspect that you have a chip or an implant, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to go to a doctor, I'm going to go to a hospital, and I'm going to request to have an X-ray or some kind of scan, an MRI or MR, whatever scan or CT scan of my skull, and that will prove or show whether I have an implant or not. The problem with this, of course, is that this is based on the assumption that you can actually trust the doctor or the staff in a hospital not to collude with the gang stalkers and deliberately withhold this vital information from you. So, say you go to them and you actually do get the X-ray scan done on your head, and you want to see the results. How do you know that you are actually being shown the actual picture or image of your skull, of your X-ray skull? Or maybe the doctor has decided, because they saw that there was an implant, decided to withhold such information from you and is showing you some completely different X-ray image of someone else's skull or whatever, or just a doctored version of that same image which does not show the implant. So there's of course a problem with trust. How can you actually go about getting a genuine X-ray image of your skull, which can confirm your suspicions that you have essentially a chip or an implant in your skull? It's very difficult to do. Basically, this generally makes it quite difficult to pull this off because you cannot trust the doctor or the staff to actually give you the right information. So it may be that you do actually have an implant, but the doctor might withhold that information deliberately from you, colluding with the gang stalkers because they don't want you to find out. Now, this would mean that you would have to actually figure out a way to get your own X-ray machine. By the way, I have no clue. Personally, I have no clue how to get an X-ray machine, like privately. And I bet you that this kind of, the problem, of course, is that this machinery, these gadgets are very, very expensive. They are not cheap. So that's also another problem. But I guess the only way that you can actually confirm your suspicions that you might or might not have an implant or a chip would be that you would have to do this, all by yourself. Basically, you would have to get access to an X-ray machine and basically do it yourself and see the results for yourself. That would be the only way to do that. And it is not so easy because, like I said, it'd be difficult for you to get your hands on an X-ray machine. I mean, it's not like you can just go and pick up an X-ray machine in a in some kind of department store or whatever, and they do cost quite a lot of money either way. So this is, of course, a problem. Anybody that wants to find out if they actually have some kind of chip or implant, you're dealing with an extra hurdle and an extra problem. And there is, of course, another problem, which is a lot of people have pointed out, of course, is that even if you manage somehow to prove and get confirmation that you indeed have an implant chip in your skull, what then? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to remove this implant or chip from your skull? That sounds very complicated. I can't imagine what anybody would be able to do about that. I mean, probably if you can actually get actual proof that you have an implant or a chip, maybe you could go to a doctor or surgeon or something, someone like that can actually remove it for you. But then again, there's the problem of trust. Can you actually trust them to indeed remove the chip during the surgery? Maybe, maybe not. this is also another problem. So I just want to talk about this a little bit. It's not much of a complicated topic. It's just that, if there really is a chip and you have suspicions that you have a chip, you do actually have a very, very big problem and difficulty in actually proving that it is there. And of course, even when you do prove that it is there, how do you go about removing it or disabling it? And that's a whole other question that, frankly, I don't really have the answers to all these questions. But I mean, this is just to show you guys that these people do have the upper hand in many, many aspects. And, again, to answer all the people that claim that this is like criminal gangs or vigilantes or basically regular citizens or civilians who are doing this, I assure you, civilians and regular people would not have access to these kind of chips and implants and wouldn't know how to place them in your body. So that's just another confirmation that if we are dealing with chips and implants, it is very likely coming from the government. Anyway, guys, I'm not going to waffle anymore. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and comment. See you guys.